Welcome to the AYS info session virtual call. My name is Zube. I went through the AYS program maybe 4 or 5 years ago and continued on to some other Ayurvedic training as well. I used to live in Chicago and work with James at Tejas Yoga. So then I will let James do his little brief introduction here.
Hi, my name is James. I am co-owner of Tejas Yoga, and I did my Ayurvedic training with Dr. Vasant Lad at the Ayurveda Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And before that, I was starting to do a little bit of studying on my own and going to the Ayurvedic Institute for Panchakarma and was learning from Dr. Vasant Lad then. For years before I went to school, but it was then that I decided to go there to actually do a formal training with him. And since then, that was about 12 years ago, I've been doing Ayurvedic consultations here in Chicago, Illinois, and doing various trainings on yoga and Ayurveda ever since.
And should I introduce myself or?
Yeah,
or
you can. I don't know you.
Okay, I'm Amy Block, and I moved to Chicago about a month ago from New Jersey, and knew about the move for about 1.5 years. My husband's been here, and did a 200-hour, became a yoga teacher in New Jersey at the studio that I adore there, and also had been to, because I'm from the East Coast, I've been to Kapalo a bunch of times, and know about Ayurveda from there. I've been very interested in it. And as part of my 200-hour training, there was a weekend of Ayurveda. And I'm just interested in it. I'm interested. I'm not, I can't imagine doing all the things to the rule book that it should be done because it seems so specific, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I'm also a therapist, and I do things. My intent for yoga was to use it as a therapist with my clients. And I do like pranayama and things like that. Now that I'm an actual teacher, I guess I'll do more stuff and sequencing and stuff like that. But I also want to know more about Ayurveda for mental health and feeling good and whatever.
Awesome.
So that's it.
So I have thank you for sharing that. I have a little bit of a slideshow. I'm going to put my screen share on so that we can sort of use it as prompts.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. Are you all seeing that first slide?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And this quote, "The middle path is the path of life." Dr. Rosie Mann was the Ayurvedic doctor who led portions of my Ayurvedic health counseling training program. And so this is one of the pieces that just stuck with me. And I know that she's not the first or the last person to share this sort of sentiment, but it always reminds me of her, which I think helps tie me in as well to a sense of lineage or who my teachers are and remember them. But basically this idea, and sort of as you just spoke to, Amy, that there's a middle path, that there are these sort of sometimes seemingly stringent or complex rules to follow. And ultimately what we're really aiming for is ease and moderation. So it speaks to as well sort of framing this program, the Ayurvedic Yoga Specialist Program, from a standpoint of practicality. And that we're really focused on practical application and the things that not only are good for us as teachers and practitioners to get involved in, but also the accessible things that we can share with our students and clients. So the program overview, I'll just read this out for us just to, it's a lot of words. I took this right from the Himalayan Institute's website about the program, but it's a nice summary to get us into it. To study Ayurveda is to study how our mind, body, and spirit are interconnected to nature and the world around us. Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga and focuses primarily on Ayurvedic lifestyle practices that support health, balance, and transformation. The unique 4-unit Ayurvedic Yoga Specialist Certification Program incorporates a holistic understanding of the science of yoga as the foundation for the study of Ayurveda. So this ties us in again, that we're coming from a yoga starting place and adding Ayurveda on top of it. And that's sort of what this program is built to do. So it's split into 4 4-day modules that can be taken in any order. Our modules are 3-day. It's the same amount of hours. It's just sometimes how things are scheduled. In this Ayurvedic Yoga Specialist Training Program, you will learn the core concepts of Ayurveda, including clinical, psychological, lifestyle, and philosophical applications of this ancient wisdom. You'll learn how simple implementations of Ayurvedic nutrition, diet, and routine can create profound transformations in your life and the lives of others. You'll experience firsthand the healing power that comes from balancing the doshas through aligning your actions with the seasons. Okay. Now, the instructors. So, James, myself, and then Katherine Templeton will be leading the various modules that you'll be taking. So Katherine is the program's creator. She lives in Connecticut and has a background as a trauma therapist, so she is a psychologist. She also has a lengthy background of yoga study, as well as Ayurvedic practitioner training. So she built this program with an understanding of those 3 things really as her foundation. So you're receiving this wisdom of Ayurveda almost like through her lens of those experiences. And I find that for a lot of people who are interested in the psychotherapeutic aspects of Ayurveda, this program is really kind of a nice, has a nice acknowledgement of those things. And with your direct relationship with Katherine, building sort of rapport and almost mentorship, that could be a valuable resource for you as well. So the host site for this run of the program is at Tejas. The program runs through the Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania.
I've been to Honesdale.
In Honesdale? You've been to Honesdale?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quaint little town, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's like it's a random place in the world, you know?
It is, yeah. The really wonderful thing about this program is that Katherine and HI have built relationships and partnerships with satellite studios who can host the program so that we can bring the curriculum directly to communities instead of having to travel only to HI to get the program. So covering the big picture questions about what is AYS. It's a professional foundational training program geared toward yoga teachers to help grow your scope of practice by adding in basic Ayurvedic skill and knowledge. Your certificate comes from the Himalayan Institute, and they stand behind the certificate as the accrediting institution. So it's not a Yoga Alliance thing. It is also not NAMA, which is that next thing that you'll read, the National Ayurvedic Medical Association. You're not certified through them either, but NAMA acknowledges the curriculum of this program and says, like, you know, this is good stuff, so we recommend it. Therefore, portions of what we teach and what you can learn and the hours that you spend will also go toward any Yoga Alliance continuing education requirements you might have. Some of them as well, if you talk with Katherine maybe directly, you might be able to figure out as a mental health practitioner as well, if there are continuing hours that you bring in like adjunct therapies, this might qualify for some of that too. But I'm not gonna guarantee that for you.
Yeah. That's
So what this program is not it is not Ayurvedic health counselor, Ayurvedic practitioner, or Ayurvedic yoga therapist, which are sort of these bigger recognitions that are out there. We look at this program as a foundational, like first tier, bringing some knowledge in and then you can build off of it toward those other certifications. Any questions about this right now?
And Zach, one of the things that I'd like to just add, even though I think people aren't getting these official NAMA recognitions or titles, I think for a lot of yoga practitioners, yoga teachers that are out there, I think there's really a call to build what they have available for their students. And so this is kind of like really like its own niche in a lot of ways of being able to offer more to your students, or however you're sharing yoga with your students or your clients. So it's really like its own niche in a lot of ways. And oftentimes I think it probably inspires people to decide if they want to know more, and actually go on to levels of Ayurvedic practitioner or Ayurvedic yoga therapist, which will be available through the Himalayan Institute. So it's a foundational training, but I also think that it really has its own benefits, as a yoga teacher, to have this knowledge under your belt.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I think that the really nice place that this program fills, there's like a gap where training and really studying Ayurveda to that level of like practitioner a lot of times requires either full relocation for 1 or 2 years. It's a large tuition bill. It's a big commitment. And especially if you have a background with sort of yoga teaching or other healthcare practitioner pieces, a lot of us have been through or invested in a lot of trainings or degree programs or whatever we've been through. So taking on more and more and more is constantly this question of like, well, wait a minute, what am I gaining from this, and how is this useful, and is it the best use of my resources? So what this program I think does really well is boils down a lot of the basic things into about 100 hours. So comparing that to 700 or 2,000 hours of training. And when we get to the tuition bill too, I find it's really reasonable for most yoga teachers to be able to manage. But even so, you walk away with some authority to work with Ayurveda and stand up as a yoga teacher and teach some Ayurvedic principles, work with them in your yoga teaching and sequencing, as well as workshops and lifestyle support. So it's really, I think it gives you a pretty good bang for what you're investing in it to come out with. So the specific skills that you'll pick up in the program that we'll focus on. We'll talk about designing dosha balancing asana sequences for different seasons, times of day, and specific ages. So in case dosha is not so familiar yet, we'll consider that aspects of your constitution that we learned through Ayurveda, balancing different aspects of constitution using yoga. We'll learn Ayurvedic recipes, food and spice combinations to address imbalances, promoting health and vitality. We'll create a practical lifestyle plan for yourself and your students based on specific needs and goals. You'll be qualified to begin offering some one-on-one Ayurvedic consultations that focus on the diet and lifestyle pieces that we cover in AYS. You can confidently teach the principles of Ayurveda and wellness in the classroom. Understand how the principles of yoga are supported by Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle principles. So we do spend time sort of acknowledging the weaving of the two paths of yoga and Ayurveda, as well as differentiating some unique differences between them. Any questions so far?
No.
And then the topics we cover specifically, and again, some of these terms you may or may not have some familiarity to it. And I find as a new student looking at this information, I was always like really excited about the words I didn't know. So hopefully you are too, or at least not intimidated, because the aim is to teach.
I just took my test, so I'm okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So we cover specifically the topics of prana, ojas, and tejas, and digestive fire. So how prana, life force, ojas, deep vitality, can be cultivated and to regulate and support agni, digestive fire, for optimal health. We dive into a deeper knowledge of doshas, gunas, psychological tendencies, vayus, or the movement of prana, and koshas, or the multiple sheaths or layers of the body, mind, spirit complex. We talk about teaching asana and pranayama around the specific function of kindling agni and circulating prana for optimal energy management. We do talk about the alchemy of yoga and Ayurveda, as I sort of mentioned before, their relationship, how they work together. Diet and lifestyle adjustments for daily, seasonal, and stage of life changes. And how to identify and address vikriti, or constitutional imbalances, using the tools of yoga, asana, pranayama, deep relaxation, and meditation. Any questions about those things? All right. So it is broken down into 4 units. James, maybe you want to just talk through that list briefly about.
Sure. So all the units except for Unit 2 are going to be held here at Tejas Yoga. They're Friday through Sunday trainings. So on Friday and Saturday, the hours are from 8 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. And of course, there'll be a lunch break and maybe some smaller breaks throughout the day. But it's a full day training on both Friday and Saturday. On Sunday, the training starts at 8 a.m. and then ends at 2. So that's for the September, the November, and the December trainings. So that's pretty much the layout of each day and each weekend that will be here at Tejas. Zach is covering the first unit, the Macrocosm and Microcosm of Ayurveda and Yoga. And I'll be around for that one, but Zach is leading that. The online course, the Psychology of Ayurveda and Physiology of Yoga, is an online course. And you can actually take that at any time once you register for the program. It's just recommended that you take it in between Unit 1 and Unit 3 to make the most sense. And you'll probably get a little bit more out of it if you do that, because they will kind of build on each other a little bit, but it is its own entity. And you actually will purchase that and then take that through the Himalayan Institute, correct, Zach?
Yeah, I think either Himalayan Institute or maybe I think Yoga International hosts the course on their site.
Okay.
But yeah.
But you'll be directed either way to where to get that online. The Ayurvedic Cooking and Recipes unit, which is in November. Me and Katherine will be leading that one, November 8th through the 10th. And then the last unit, the Clinical Use of Ayurveda and Yoga, is by Katherine Templeton. She's coming in to Chicago one more time to do the December 6th through 8th. And yeah, did you want to just highlight some of the content for each of those units, Zach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some slides with the points from the website, but I'll just talk through it. I won't read it point by point. Also, yeah, like James said, Unit 2 can be taken on your own time whenever you can, once you've registered. The only clause is that you must complete Units 1 through 3 before going into Unit 4. And that way, because Unit 4 ties everything together. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's recommended between 1 and 3 where you get sort of the most coherent building from unit to unit, but you can take it before or after Unit 3 as well. Okay. Unit 1, Macrocosm and Microcosm of Ayurveda and Yoga. So I'll leave this up for a moment so you can read through it. This also is taken directly from the Himalayan Institute website, so you can always go get these points there. But essentially we spend several hours discussing the foundational concepts of Ayurveda. So we get into the doshas, the gunas, the concept of the Ayurvedic clock, how we understand constitution, the 5 elements, things like that. We also spend a good amount of time going through different systems of philosophy. In sort of the history, it's called the Shad Darshan, or the 6 visions of reality. And I think that some yoga teachings or training programs cover pieces of this. And I found getting into this was really kind of exciting for me to learn it. And the nice thing is there's a good amount of time spent with Sankhya philosophy, which is one of the main influencers of yoga and Ayurveda both. So it helps us to see again how these systems are related across philosophies. Some of the more obscure philosophies will spend just enough time to kind of give you an introduction. We're not intending you to, write a deep philosophical paper at the end of this for your homework. So we also look at how yoga and Ayurveda tie together. So each day in this program, we'll do a specific dosha balancing asana practice. So we'll do a yoga practice for Vata dosha, for Pitta dosha, for Kapha dosha. So you'll get the experience through the tools of yoga, how we engage with each dosha. And then we'll discuss what we did in the practices or other things that you could do with those practices. And there will be some time to look at specific asana and say, how can we modify triangle pose to suit each dosha? So we do look at those things. We start to introduce pieces of dinacharya, or daily self-care practices. Things like tongue scraping or body oiling, neti pot. And we'll break down, there's a really wonderful list that breaks down a lot of the practices, some which might be familiar and some which might be your first time learning about them. And part of the homework from that unit is to commit to taking some of those practices on. So Unit 1 is really meant to be pulling everything together, giving you a nice foundation. Let's see. There we go. Unit 2 online, psychology of Ayurveda, physiology of yoga. This is where you'll get more into specific aspects of each dosha, such as the sub-doshas of them. So how the doshas are broken down and found in the body. And then we also talk about Tejas, Prana, and Ojas to a greater degree, as well as the 3 Mahagunas, which is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And this is how we start relating Ayurveda to the mind and the aspect of psychology and understanding mental tendencies, mental states, and then how the specific tools of yoga and Ayurveda we can bring in to help start to change those energetic and mental states. This again is the online portion. So there will be like videos, online content that you'll get to access to get there. The reason I recommend getting that in before Unit 3 is so that if you do end up with questions, you can bring them into Unit 3 and maybe get some follow-up or help tie it together. Unit 3 is cooking and recipes. So we will you get into the discussion of Agni and digestion, how the food we take ends up becoming nourishment, waste, or toxicity within the body. And then the ways that we can deal with each of those things. How do we build a greater reserve of nourishment? How do we optimize digestion to minimize toxicity? And then how do we balance digestion in a way where our waste, our malas, the feces and urine are showing signs of health internally? How do we read for that? So you'll focus on actual cooking. You'll get into some recipes and doing some cooking together. You'll eat the food that you cook. So this is a day where you'll have like you'll make your meal and share it. we talk about spices and different ways to integrate spices into your cooking and your food. You learn how to make ghee. You'll learn how to make chai. So this is usually the one that most people get excited for that sort of hands-on experience. And then Unit 4 is where we bring all of the pieces of 1, 2, and 3 together and say, this is your toolbox. And then usually I think it works where we bring in guest clients, like volunteer clients from the community. And in groups, you'll be able to do a full client intake and then build out a recommendation plan. So you get to really start seeing the clinical use of these tools as an Ayurvedic yoga specialist. This just brings us back to that overview of the units and the dates again. Do you have any questions, Amy, about those?
No.
Okay. I'm just kind of shuffling us through because I'm watching our time, just making sure that we get in under the, before the video cuts off.
It came on that I was extended, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Maybe we are. Nice.
Yeah.
So this brings us to then the all-important discussion of costs. So I'll turn this over to James since the studio handles the payment too.
Okay. So as you can see in front of you, if you commit to the whole training and the certification, you do get a discount of $200. So the total amount will be $1,396. You can take each individual session if you might not be that interested in the full certification, or if one particular module is more interesting for you than some of the others. But one of the things that we want to make sure that everybody knows is we're really committed at Tejas, even though we can't change the cost beyond the way that it's already discounted. We're really committed to helping people with payment plans if they're interested in the program and maybe can't fork over all the cash up front. We do ask for a suggested $500 deposit to hold the space if you plan on taking the whole program. But even if that's challenging for you, I'd much rather have people call me or email me and talk to me if they have some financial restraints. The one thing that we do require is that there is a remaining balance, that it's paid off by the end of the program, which would be that last month of December 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, you can go online. If you go onto our online store, it would be under workshops, and you'll see Ayurveda Yoga Specialist Program. And then you'll see that it's charging you $1,047, so $1,047, because it's taking the $349 away from the online course. So that's why the price on our online store is less than the $1,396, because then you'll pay for the online course on your own. But that will cover the 3 courses that are held here at Tejas. Yeah. But other than that, just if anybody has any financial issues, they could that they want to work out a payment plan, please give me a call. Otherwise, if you want to pay everything up front, it's pretty easy to do online.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah.
And then anything, did you bring any questions to the table, Amy, at all, or no? Just wanted to hear a little bit more about the program.
Yeah, started with, Tejas, because I'm new here. And so, somebody said, oh, you should check out Tejas. I live up in Lakeview.
Okay.
And so, honestly, this morning I went on your website and saw this. And I'm like, oh, Ayurveda. It was literally like it flowed this way. I had the opportunity to be available this time. And, it's definitely something I've been interested in for a bunch of years. As part of 300 Hour at the studio I went to in Millburn, New Jersey, there was a weekend or a module of Ayurveda. And I didn't want to waste my money there. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I need to start kind of making my roots here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I considered doing somewhere the late spring, I guess early summer. So this is, just something I've been thinking about for a long, long time beyond this year. It just seems very interesting to me. And I worked in a school for a long, long time as a social worker, and in an urban district where people ate nothing but crap and their environments were tough. And, and just having students read the labels and understanding what they're putting in their bodies and, just all that kind of stuff. I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Like you usually eat watermelon in July and not in February. There's something not natural about that, but I don't really understand. I understand it, but I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I know the doshas, but I know it like a person who's read a book once. You know what I mean? I don't really know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think programs like this, it was one of the things that I struggled with when I started picking up books and started studying on my own, and was really inspired by Dr. Laud's lectures when I was there for Panchakarma.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just so many pieces of the puzzle. I had no idea like how to put them all together and use them and apply some of like what I was learning. It was just information at that point. But it's programs like this that I think really help you to organize the information, really get out there in the world and apply the basic fundamental principles of Ayurveda. And then you can really see that there's very measurable changes when you start to apply it. And a lot of it's common sense. Like you said, like, why do I naturally get drawn to eating salads in the summertime, but I'm maybe not really craving them in the wintertime? Just simple things like that, it's, it's the way we're built. And if we're more in tune and actually in a fairly balanced state, we're actually drawn to what keeps us in balance. And that's what I've learned from Ayurveda. And when we're not so in balance, sometimes we crave the opposite, and learning that about ourselves. And it's really interesting. Programs like this, I think they're so great to, put the information in order that helps us to use it.
The more you know, the more you want to know of certain things, and that's yoga is one of them, and this, and I know the sister sciences. It's really just cool, cool, And so I don't know.
There's a lot of overlap, and they really complement each other. And if you've got, one of the reasons why I really love this program is it really shows that, it demonstrates that, and it teaches us just how complementary the two systems of yoga and Ayurveda really are. And there's some pretty, I think, easy ways to incorporate this knowledge into asana and pranayama. And so yeah, I always get really excited about sharing what I know and what I've experienced in that realm.
So, thank you. I mean, I'm very happy that I stumbled upon this, and I'll think about it. I don't really, I didn't wake up this morning thinking I was going to spend $1,500 on something, but sometimes, like, why not? Right. So.
Yeah. Well, this is why we do these, forums, and, it's just to, let more information sit with you. Right. I mean, what we really want to do, and with any training at Tejas for sure, whether it's, through another program or not, we always want people to make a very informed decision. We understand the financial commitment and the time commitment, is really important. And we just want to make sure everybody has as much information as they can, so they can go into the program feeling really good about it and really focused, and don't have any second thoughts about it. So yeah, we're glad you joined us.
Yay, thank you.